My name is Philip Larson, and I am a follower of Christ. I felt a calling for ministry on my life since I was right around you guys' age. But my calling has manifested itself in a much different way than you would expect. Because here's the deal. I could be known for a number of things. I can be known as a husband and a father. And by the way, those are some of my favorite titles. I could be known as a professional speaker and communicator. I could be known as a professional writer. And that's where my greatest strength lies. Because the truth of the matter is that we each have a calling on our lives that God has placed there. We each have a part to play in the advancement of the gospel. And very, very few of us will be employed as either a minister or a missionary. So how does that calling manifest? As a writer, my motivation is to write something that will cause you to think. That will cause you to evaluate your relationship with Christ and with each other. And that will cause you to grow closer to God. And the reason that I do this is because I love people who read what I write, but more importantly, I love Jesus and feel like He's called me to do this. That's the reason I write. I don't write for some self-aggrandizing desire to see my name in print to satisfy some sort of egotistical itch. Because the reality is, as a writer, what I put that out there is really a small piece of me. I reveal a small part of my life, of myself, with each article or book that I write. And that level of just transparency, that my ideas, a little piece of me, is out there for public consumption, I'll be honest, it's kind of terrifying. See, the world needs ministers and missionaries to be sure, but more than that, the world needs passionate and devoted followers of Christ in business and industry, in teaching throughout our society, rather than be walled off from it. Is that the things that are worthwhile, the things that are valuable, they're hard. They require time. They require an investment of time. They require sacrifice. They require delayed gratification. And an understanding. Great things are also not done by yourself. We're not created to do this alone. We are created for community by a God that loves community. We are described as a body of Christ, and as such we each have a different role to play. And to trust in that calling that God has in our lives is also to trust that God has a calling in the lives of the people around us. It's really good. What I'm finding, I initially wrote it for kind of juniors and seniors, maybe freshmen in college. What I'm finding is having the most impact with freshmen in high school. Because here's the thing. I'm 31. I graduated in 2001. So I'm not, I say that I'm old. I'm really not. I'm still a pretty young guy. The stuff that I've dealt with youth ministry for the majority of my ministry career, either through speaking at like Dean Al's or camps or something like that, or doing something like this. I was a youth minister for a little while. What I'm finding is that most students are going through some of the stuff I went through as freshmen, where I went through it as like a senior. And that's primarily, and I've talked to a couple different sociologists, is because of this guy right here. There's more technology in this than they used in the first space shuttle, which is beyond me. With this, I'm connected to every piece of information ever. And we give it to a 13-year-old and say, we're not lacking in knowledge. What we're lacking in is wisdom. So I tell people, I got a couple families going through the 21 day. I've kind of sent some, test copies out or whatever. And, I told them, I was like, look, worst thing that happens if you go through the 21 day, you spent 3 weeks together as a family. Oh, darn. Yeah, I'll take the hit for that. So, good question. I like it when people ask me how to buy my book. Who here has written a paper where like you finish and you like turn it in or email it off or something like that, and it's like, this was total crap. I mean, this is just terrible. And yeah, like everyone. It's like every yeah, she's like that's every day of my life. And he calls me because I sent him an email and said, hey, I'm going to get everything done, but I just had a baby, so sleep is no longer in the cards for me. So he called me, which I thought was really awesome, and was saying, hey, congratulations. Don't worry about it as long as you get it by the time I turn in grades, which is about 3 weeks after when the term ended, we're good to go. And then he's like, by the way, what you just sent me was brilliant. And I'm like, really? I mean, I was like, here you go. So, I mean, it's a lot of bashed on in social media too. It's actually kind of fun. By the way, if you ever decide to write or do like a YouTube video, piece of advice, never read the comments on a story or a section. I mean, just the most vile stuff ever. I mean, you guys know that. You bounce around the internet. But like I said, success is built on a mountain of failure, but also a mountain of perseverance. Here's a funny story. I have 2 daughters. One is 7, just turned 7 yesterday. The birthday party is this afternoon, and then one is 5. And my oldest, she was not quite 1, and I've had not every iPhone, but every design of iPhone. So I had the original iPhone. Me and my wife had 3Gs, both of us had 4Ss, and both of us had 5s. So like I said, not every iPhone, but every design, right? So she was less than, right around 1. I don't think she was 1 yet. She could reach into my wife's purse, slide to unlock it, go to the iPod, find her music, and start playing it at 1. And then I was like, you are very smart. And so, I mean, you guys, 99, and it's for that reason that I would challenge you guys. Challenge you guys to think of something big. Think of something that God has called you to do that is so big, so unbelievable, so audacious that the only logical way that it's going to succeed is that if God shows up. Otherwise, it will fall on its face and be a catastrophic failure.